I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to share my story of an experience that happened recently that has left me in a bit of a state. Don't let the makeup and hair fool you. I've just been to church. Usually I'm just there's no time for that. I'm just on my bed in a ball, because that's all I can really do a lot of the time, is be in a bowl, moving, rocking. It's my experience of something called akathisia, which is not really spoken about a lot. Doctors don't really know what they're doing. There's no known treatment or cure for it. So people that are dealing with it through no fault of their own, usually, there's no one to help them, really. It starts from use of antipsychotic medications, but also medications like antidepressants, SSRIs usually, anti-medic medications. It can even come from things like antibiotics, but that's a lot less rare. That's rare, I think. The main culprits are the antipsychotics, benzodiazepines, so your Valiums, your lorazepams, clonazepams, and your antiemetics, which is where mine started. My akathisia started. So basically, I was booked in to have a laparoscopy because I was having a lot of pain in my pelvic area. So my doctor wanted to go in and check that there wasn't anything there like endometriosis or ovarian cysts or things like that. So I had the operation. It went well. I came out of the operation and I felt really sick. I felt nauseous. So the next thing I knew, they had given me some kind of, they didn't say what it was, they just said it was medicine to help it. They gave that intravenously, so through my IV, and I still felt sick after that, so they gave me some more, and then after that they gave me even more because I still felt sick. But I don't think I was feeling sick from the operation at that point. I think my akathisia was starting to set in. I don't know which anti-medic they gave me. I think it might have been something called prochlorazine or something. But basically, a short while after receiving it, I felt a feeling that I just cannot describe in any way. I felt like it was just the worst feeling in the world. I felt like my body had to move, but I was stuck inside my body and it couldn't move. But I had this overwhelming urge to move, but was paralyzed. I was just freaking out. I thought I was dying, and they offered for me to stay a bit longer, but I just wanted to go home, and I thought going home would fix it. So they put me in a wheelchair and wheeled me to the car, and my husband took me home. I got home and I knew something was wrong, really wrong. I felt just it was the most horrible feeling, like my body was trying to move 100 miles an hour but was paralyzed. And it was this dread and fear came over my body, and it was just horrible. And my husband was there, and I think my dad came over at one point. I said, something's really wrong. And, they thought, sometimes you feel a bit funny after coming out of anesthetic. You can get a sore chest. I had a sore chest as well. I was just crying in my bed, basically unable to move, but I knew something was happening, something was really wrong. Somehow I managed to later get up out of my bed and survive the night. I slept on the couch. But then that morning, that feeling came where I felt like I was in a nightmare. I felt like it's just the feeling of unimaginable dread and fear of nothing in particular. And you feel like you want to jump out of your body. You feel like you have to escape from your body because there's no way out. You feel trapped in your body somehow, but your body is moving at 100 miles an hour, and I mean 100 miles an hour. I was pacing, wringing my arms, screaming, crying. My shoulders, all the muscles in my shoulders were just going like this, like I'm not even joking. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't sit down at all. My dad came over and thought, it's your anxiety, just sit down, try and calm down. And I couldn't. I kept crying and saying, I can't sit still. It's the most extreme mental and physical torture and anguish that you can possibly imagine. And it still doesn't describe it enough. I was like that for a while, and I messaged my husband who'd taken the kids out, and I said, you have to come home, something's really wrong. So my parents came over, and everyone was home, and I had to hide myself from my kids because I was in such a state. I felt like it feels inside, it feels like you are always dying, but you never die. You never actually die. It's like you're constantly being tortured somehow, but you're never relieved of it. At one point, I was smashing my hand into the wall, crying and screaming. I thought maybe I'd been possessed by a demon. I felt like I wanted to run as hard as I could and smash my head into the wall. Not because I was depressed and I hated my life and I wanted to kill myself. I just knew that I had to get out of my body somehow. It's just the most unbelievable feeling. And I still could not stop moving. My mum tried to hold my arms by my side. They were constantly flailing. My legs, I couldn't sit down. It was absolutely horrible. And so I went to the doctors, and that car ride to the doctors, I can't even explain it. I felt like I'm gonna die. You have to get me out of this car. I would have opened the door onto the freeway if they had let me. It's like you have to get out of wherever you are because it's absolutely terrifying. It's like you're in a nightmare and you cannot get out. And I know how weird that sounds. But I got to the doctors, they had to hide me in one of the nurses' waiting stations because I was in such a state. I was crying, I was falling to the floor, I was a mess, and it was going to scare people. And I saw a doctor, and he said, look, you're having an anxiety attack. And I was thinking, no, I'm not. Something's happened. I've had a reaction to the anesthetic or something from my procedure. They said, no, look, the wringing of the arms, the constant pacing, the crying, it's your anxiety, and we'll give you some Valium. Was it Valium? I think it was Valium. We'll give you some Valium. Go home, take this. It'll calm you down. So I went home, took 2 Valiums. It helped with my internal fear and anxiety a bit, but my body was still going at 100 miles an hour. It couldn't stop, and it's so distressing. I can't even tell you how distressing it is. And so I was at my mum's at this point. I couldn't be home around the kids. So I was pacing around my mum's. They tried lots of different things to calm me down, and nothing worked. It's getting hot in the car. So what happened? We went to the doctor again, I think. Oh no, we went to the hospital that night because there was no way I was going to sleep. I was just in a state still. I waited in the waiting room for over 2 hours, rocking back and forth like a crazy person. I was finally seen, and was told that it was my anxiety still. It's just my anxiety, and they gave me 2 lorazepams, I think. Maybe it was a temazepam to put me to sleep. So I went home and I slept that night and woke up the next morning in extreme agitation, extreme dread, fear. My body was still moving at 100 miles an hour. It was horrible. So we went to the doctors again, saw a different doctor. Again, my anxiety. No one was listening to me. Nobody. I was saying something's wrong. Something's happened from something I've been given in the hospital. It's not right. I know what anxiety is. I've lived with it most of my life. And I was sent home again, and then to the hospital again that night because I still could not sit down. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't even bear the thought of sitting down. So the hospital, they took me in eventually after hours of waiting in their waiting room with people staring at me while I'm rocking back and forth and pacing like I'm, on drugs. So they put me in MOA, which is a mental health observation unit. And I was just constantly pacing around. I couldn't sit down there. And that's when they started to give me Seroquel, which I've had before and didn't take to it very well. It's an antipsychotic. They gave me temazepam to knock me out. They were giving me lorazepam every few hours. So that put me in a slightly better condition in the way that I could sit on my bed and rock back and forth. So I didn't have to be pacing the hallways all the time. I'm sorry, this video is going to be long. And I stayed there for, I think it was 3 nights, just drugged out of my mind. I didn't know what was happening. I was just crying most of the time, crying and rocking most of the time. I think I'll try and put up a video of me doing that. I think I've got a video of me in the waiting room and at home before I went to the hospital. And those videos were nice videos, they weren't me at my worst. Anyway, I knew that I had to get help because they weren't going to help me. They didn't know what was wrong. They were just going to keep drugging me until, I don't know. So we called Perth Clinic, which is a private psychiatric hospital, and I got in there. So I went there and was seen by a psychiatrist who told me my anxiety was really bad. And I kept saying, look, I've had a reaction to something. This isn't normal for me. I've dealt with anxiety forever. I know it's not normal. I guess she thought I was having some kind of mental breakdown. So then I thought I'm having some kind of mental breakdown because she must know best. And I was started on, I can't remember how many milligrams of Prozac, but I was started on Prozac, which I've been on before for most of my life for like severe depression, anxiety, OCD, and body dysmorphic disorder. So, you know, I'd come off it 2 years prior and had been relatively okay, apart from quite stressed for the past couple of years. Anyway, she put me on that, and in that time I was at the clinic for pretty much 3 weeks, and in that time she'd put me from 0 to the highest dose of Prozac, which was 80 milligrams. I started to, on the 3rd day of being in the hospital, I'd started to feel much calmer and much better. I was also on a lot of lorazepam. But I think that the antiemetics were coming out of my system, so my body was just naturally putting itself back into order. And I think if I had left it, we had left it, I would have been fine. I would have been able to go back to my normal life. But because I was put on this Prozac so quickly and dosed up so high, and then discharged on the day that they started me on the highest dose, it brought on something called akathisia. And again, I must have been predisposed to it, I guess. So, yeah, I went home, and mainly my arms and my back muscles are affected the most. So it's a lot of not being able to hold my arms still, or my legs. Like, I have to constantly be moving it's only on my right side of my body. Why, I don't know. Anyway, so I went to the doctors and I said, look, I'm still having akathisia symptoms. What do I do? And she said to lower the dose. So I lowered the dose, and I kept lowering the dose over a few weeks until I eventually decided to come off. I said, I'm not going to be on this anymore. I need this to stop. This time I'm still on lorazepam to mazepam at night to help me sleep. And I felt relief after I stopped the medication. After I stopped the Prozac, I felt some relief for a while. Not completely, but I felt like, oh, I'm getting slowly back to normal. I can do things, you know, I can shower, I can cook dinner relatively normally, I can drive. So I'm not at that emergency state, if you know what I mean. But I don't know why. When did I come off? I came off nearly 2 months ago, and I'm still dealing with the akathisia. It's a lot of internal stuff as well. It's a lot of dread, it's a lot of intense fear where I have to curl up in a ball and just rock, or I fall to the floor and just cry. Sometimes that's because of fear, sometimes that's because of frustration that I have to keep moving my body all the time and I'm tired of it. I don't know why it hasn't stopped. I don't know. I know that Prozac has a long half-life, but it should take about a month for it to be completely out of your body. So I've had an extra month on top of that, and it feels like it's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. So now I'm wondering, is it something to do with the lorazepam that I'm taking? I don't know. But I was recently started on propranolol, which is a beta blocker. It's used to give to people with either high blood pressure, but it's also used for people with Parkinson's, tremors and things like that. I felt a little bit of relief for the first 2 nights. I'm on 40 milligrams, but today I feel like I'm not as good as the past 2 days. So I'm wondering if I need to try and up that. I know I need to get off the lorazepam because when the funny thing is that when you're taking benzos, it takes about 2 weeks for your body to become addicted to it. So to come off a benzo is extremely hard, and it can also bring on withdrawal akathisia, which is a whole different kettle of fish to, SSRI induced akathisia. I think with withdrawal akathisia, you get a lot of pain and zaps and electricity type feelings in your body as well. So I know I'm probably gonna have to deal with that at some point. I've stopped seeing my psychiatrist because she has no idea what she's doing. She doesn't know anything about akathisia, so I'm looking for a new one. My arm's just doing this the whole time. It's just having to twitch and like muscle spasms all the time, and it's in my back, it's in my shoulders. It's really tiring. I forgot to say also that when I was in Perth Clinic, they tried me on a few different antipsychotics. They tried me on lamotrigine, which I used to be on, treated for like bipolar and stuff. But I came off that after one night. I had a reaction, and they tried me on 2 others, which I also had a reaction, and they had to sedate me. I don't know what happened there. But these doctors, they are treating people like guinea pigs. They are throwing whatever they can at you just to get you to shut up, basically, and to stop whinging and to sedate you as much as possible. Antipsychotics are very sedative, and you walk around like a zombie, basically, and you have no sense of self. And they do this, some do it because they really want to help, and others do it because they just want you to shut up. And then people get things like akathisia that nobody, these doctors won't tell you that that's what it is, or say that it's from the medication. They'll tell you that it's something like aggravated anxiety or aggravated depression. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to help. A lot of the things that they do prescribe to help with akathisia end up making it worse, or put you at risk of things like dementia, with anticholinergics and stuff like that, or dopamine agonists. It can stop your brain from producing dopamine by itself, so you're just indebted to that medication for the rest of your life, basically. I know I have post-traumatic stress from what I've gone through, and I'm trying to explain it in the nicest way possible because I don't want people to get dragged down by this video. I just want to raise awareness of it because, you know, it happens to about 40% of patients who have had an operation and receive antiemetics. 40%. If I had just stayed in the hospital, they could have treated me with something simple like Benadryl, which somehow, when administered intravenously after receiving antiemetics, can basically fix your akathisia. But it doesn't work with things like tie-dive akathisia, which comes on like 3 months after you start a medication. There's like acute akathisia, chronic akathisia, which lasts more than 6 months. And, you know, I've been on akathisia support pages where people have been dealing with this for 12 years. They're in constant agony, in constant turmoil, and nobody can help them. So I just want people to know, if you're going through it, that you are not alone. There are many people going through it that either don't know they're going through it because their doctors aren't aware of it, or they do know and they're, you know, a huge percentage of people who are diagnosed with akathisia take their lives, and I'm not joking. That support page that I was on, people were dropping off all the time. They couldn't do it anymore. And their families would have to come on the page and say, that their son or daughter has had to end their life because it's been so bad. No one could help them. And I feel like that a lot. I feel like giving up a lot, even though I might look normal. A lot of the time, I try and hide it as much as I can. You know, I'll go and talk to somebody, and then I'll go back into my room and just collapse on the floor. And I can't stop moving, you know. I just feel that dread and that akathisia creeping back in. And the only reason that I am here is because I have a really supportive family. And my children need me. And I refuse to let them win, because these doctors know that this can happen. They know that it can happen, and they just put people on these things like they're handing out Skittles, and they don't warn you of any of the things that can happen. You know, they give you a leaflet, right? And they say, oh, read this leaflet, you know, it will give you some of the side effects. And, you know, so it lists some of the side effects like dry mouth, nausea, you know, constipation or things like that. And then it would tell you down the bottom in really small writing that, you know, it's a black box warning type drug, which means it can kill you. It's very addictive. And, you know, they're treating you for things like anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. And listed in the leaflet can cause severe suicidal thoughts, severe anxiety, agitation, and severe depression. And it's like, obviously the medication isn't working if that can do that to someone. If you're treating someone for that and it can make their symptoms worse, why would you even play roulette with that? Why would you give that to them? You know, and it's their fault. It is the doctor's fault, because we don't know any better. We're going to a trained medical professional asking for help. And they just throw things at you to get, you know, you've got 10 minutes with them, and in that 10 minutes, they can change your entire life. So if you're taking antidepressants, if you're taking things like Prozac or Escitalopram or just anything SSRIs, so that messes with your serotonin levels, are the worst, but also tricyclic, I think that's a word, antidepressants can do it. So many medications can do it. And no, you're not told about it. You're not told that that could possibly happen, because I tell you, what you have to go through dealing with akathisia is 1,000 times worse than feeling depressed or anxious. There are people who, you know, come off benzos the right way. They taper down slowly. They think they're doing the right thing, and they still get akathisia. So going on it, being put on it, and then saying, oh, don't worry, we'll taper you slowly, it'll be safe, it doesn't guarantee anything. It's same with antidepressants, you know, we'll taper you slowly, it'll be fine. Antipsychotics, we'll taper you slowly, it'll be okay. It does not guarantee anything, and if you end up dealing with this, you could lose your life. And that's no joke. I'm not trying to make things sound worse than they are. It's horrible, and I feel for anybody out there who's having to deal with it on a daily basis, because your life is stolen from you. You know, I'm lucky. I'm at the point where I can start to do things like drive, and you know, I can be out in public for a little bit. But there are people who are on their floor most of the day. They can't shower, they don't eat, because they are just so traumatized, and their bodies won't stop moving, and no one can help them. So if you've dealt with this before, please comment. If you have come through it, if you are one of the lucky ones who have come through it, please comment. Or if you are a medical professional that happens to see this, please comment. Anything that you might know that will help, or get in touch, because I feel like I have to try and do something to help myself and the people who are going through this, because nobody seems to really be wanting to help. So, you know, a lot of people that you see that you know aren't quite mentally right, and they're pacing back and forward, they're talking to themselves, because I was talking to myself, I was groaning, moaning. I looked like I was an insane person. A lot of people you see that you put into a box, like, oh, they're insane, look, they've lost their mind. They're probably going through akathisia, and nobody's helping them. They're just throwing drugs at them that are making it worse. So yeah, I don't really know the point of this video. It's really quite embarrassing to me to make it, because I don't like this type of attention. I'd rather just hide in the background. But I feel like I have to, because I've been looking for videos online and I don't see many of them. You know, this is me on a relatively good day, so I look pretty normal, but I can tell you right now that in a matter of 15 minutes I can have a wave of akathisia, and I'll be on my bedroom floor in a ball, wanting to die. And it's not wanting to die because I hate my life and I don't want to be here anymore. I want to live. I love my family. But when you're in that akathisia, there is just nothing worse, and you just can't take it anymore. You can't take it. And I know that's really hard for people to understand who haven't been through it before, but I'm trying to explain it in a way that might make it a little more understandable. But do your research, even if you don't take this stuff, so that in the future, if you are needing to go on medications such as these, that you will know which ones to avoid, or just avoid them altogether. I know that I have mental illnesses, so my OCD is, and you know, it's hereditary. My anxiety and depression is hereditary. It's not going to go away, but I will never again go on an antidepressant or an antipsychotic, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm gonna, if I ever get out of this alive, then I'm going to run. I'm gonna exercise. You know, I can't exercise anymore because the medication that I do take makes my muscles really weak and I have no energy. Plus my body is just constantly shaking and moving, so, you know, I can't hold weights properly or anything. I do walk sometimes if I can, but you know, I will listen to music, I will see my family, see friends, I will do whatever I can naturally to try and fix myself, rather than go to a doctor who doesn't know me, who's going to ruin my life in a matter of 10 minutes. I'll try and post some more videos if I can, some updates, or try and answer some questions if anyone sees this video and has questions. But I'm hopeful that it's going to eventually go out of my body, and that I will be myself again and be the mother that I want to be to my kids, and be the wife that I want to be, and I will find joy in life again. I'm going to be hopeful of that. So thank you for watching. Comment below if you can, and I love you all. I just wanted to clear up a couple of things that I didn't think that I explained really in the last video, and they are that so I've had akathisia technically from 2 different medications. The first being the antimetic in the hospital, and then from the Prozac, being given too much Prozac too quickly. So yeah, I don't know if I kind of explained that enough. This akathisia from the Prozac is like, it's not at that emergency level, it's more of like a slow death. Like every day you kind of die a little bit more and you get a little bit more weaker, and some days are okay, but most days you're just in agony, like mental and physical agony. But it's different to the antimetic one, where I was in an absolute emergency state of, you know, could die any moment. So I just wanted to clear that up if that needed clearing up. And also, nobody, I diagnosed myself with akathisia. So nobody, no medical professional that I'd spoke to, including my psychiatrist, told me that this even existed. It wasn't until I got out of Perth Clinic that I did research into the medications that I had on that surgery day, and I found that particular antiemetics can cause this thing such as akathisia. And I thought, what the hell is akathisia? But it's exactly what I've got, or have. So I went to the doctor and I said, is this what's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, it is, yeah. And I'm like, well, why were you, why was everybody treating me like I'm going through some kind of mental breakdown when they must have had some clue that that's what I was going through. Like, somebody could and should have told me, but nobody did. So anyway, I went to my psychiatrist as well, and I brought it up with her, and she said, oh yeah, akathisia can happen when, you're given a dose of medication too quickly, too high and too quickly. And so I'm looking at her like, so you did this. You did this to me. What are you going to do about it? And so she asked me what I wanted to do about it. And I said, well, take me off the medication. Oh, okay, all right. Well, I guess we'll taper you slowly, She didn't prescribe anything to help with what I was dealing with. It just blew my mind that these medical professionals didn't say anything about it, because they didn't want to take responsibility for something that they did, for drugs that they were giving me. So anyway, the doctors do say it's akathisia, and I do have one doctor helping me, trying to help me. So she's the one that put me on the propranolol, but the rest were just idiots, basically. Anyway, so I just wanted to clear that up, that it took, all those weeks and months for me to do my own research, to tell myself what was going on, because everyone was just acting like idiots, like, oh, we don't know what it is. Well, I have no idea. So, for people who are gonna go through it or going through it, I don't know if that will help you in any way. Just knowing already what can happen, so that if the time comes, you can spot it quickly and say, this is what it is. Maybe there's this and this and this that we can do about it. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that on. Thanks.